All right, good morning. Welcome into another edition of Catching Up with Tommy Mac podcast here on 1010XL's podcast platform, 1010XL.com, the 1010XL app. We're live on Facebook. We're also recording inside the 1010XL podcast studios, brought to you by my good friends at Team Tommy Mac. You can see them right there on the screen. You can see them on TommyMac.net. Just go to their check on their logos and click on it. Take you right to their respective websites. A great team I have, and always room for more because we love promoting all the great businesses here in town and beyond. Lots to get into today. Heavy free agent, heavy draft, heavy prospects coming off the combine. And we'll get into all of that and more. But before we do, we've got Grammage. And before I bring him in, something new we're trying today is we're going to be able to see Grammage's beautiful mug every time that he puts his opinion out there. So very grateful to Jacob for putting it all together for us here on Catching Up with Tommy Mac. Good morning, Grammage. How are you?
Good morning, sir.
Boom, the camera's on.
That's right.
There
man.
you go.
You gotta make sure you're looking right.
That's right.
You got to make sure
it's Oscar night, baby.
That's right, baby. you got to make sure that the hair looks right and your face is nice and shaved
Clean.
and groomed and ready to rock, dude, because I'm coming for your ass, bro.
There you go. There you go, man. It's good to have you, no doubt about that.
I say that as I rolled out of bed this morning.
Yeah, right. You're like,
groggy as hell.
Are we doing the pod? Yes, we are doing the pod. No question about that. Every Tuesday and Friday, we will take care of it right here from the 1010XL studios. All right, NFL Combine is over. New mock drafts have started to come out. More will come out. I think the star of the show was Armand Membao. I think that's how you pronounce it, Membu. He's out of Missouri, another offensive lineman out of Missouri. Massive human being at 332 pounds. Not only ran a 4.9 run, his 4.91 in the 40. He jumped 34 inches in a vertical, which is pretty awesome. And his 10-yard split was a 1.74. I always look at the splits because everyone looks at the 40. Look, I don't really care how fast my offensive lineman can run a 40 in. I don't really care. My defensive lineman, I care because they got to chase. They got to chase that ball down, and even if it gets out of the box and down the field, they got to take off and run. And I want to make sure that they've got enough speed to do that pursuit. But my own lineman, I want him quick. I want him fast and athletic. There's no doubt. I'll tell you what really jumps off the page. So I think it's PFF or PPF. There's so many of them, I get them confused. But they do a pretty cool scale of their height, their weight, their size, their hands and all this stuff, wingspan, the 40, the 10. But they have a grade for athleticism. And Armand's grade was 94. At 332 pounds. I mean, this is a extremely athletic. In comparison, Will Campbell, about 15 to 17 pounds lighter, although a couple inches taller, ran a similar 10-yard split. His athleticism was at 88. And Kelvin Bakes Jr., the other offensive tackle being mentioned in that first round, not at 5, but in the first round, he came in at a 76, sorry about that. No, 78 athleticism rate. So it shows you that's a big discrepancy. I mean, you look at Armand compared to Kelvin, I mean, that's almost 20 points in how athletic you are. Now, what does that mean? That probably means, I don't know exactly, but I can only imagine how you look in space, how you change direction, how quick you are in your movements, getting up and back, side to side, whatever the case may be. But that really stood out. And I tell you, for a team that, I mean, look, everyone's worried, hey, well, you don't do it at number 5. Do you really care anymore? Do you really care? I mean, do you care that Trayvon Walker was the first pick in the draft? Does it matter anymore? No, I don't think it matters anymore because why? Because he's producing. He keeps ascending. He keeps getting better. Take him at 3, take him at 5, take him at 1. Who cares? He is a really good player for your football team. I know how the draft and the skeptics are like, yeah, but the value and this and that. Look, at the end of the day, it is true what you're saying. The value, you got to be right on the value. But eventually that wanes for me. It does. I don't care where you were drafted or how you were drafted. All that matters is how you produce on the field at some point. So if it is this kid Armand out of Missouri, or if it's a Will Campbell, now I think somebody will jump up to 5. You know what I mean? I do, depending on how it goes. I think we're in a pretty good spot to be someone from 6 or 7 or 8 to jump up to get to us and us drop back and maybe getting one of these offensive linemen. I've got an idea, Grammage, for free agency and draft. Okay? Here's an idea. Now, I don't know if you can get these guys. I don't know if we can. I think we can afford them because the cap went up another $30 million. I think we can afford pretty much anything. I think most teams can. You know what I mean? Based on where they're at in the cap, we've got a lot of space in the salary cap. But what about this for free agency? Javon Holland, Hassan Reddick, and Will Freeze, or Fries, however you pronounce his name. Freeze, I think it is, the guard from Indianapolis. You got a safety, you got an edge, and you got a guard. And then with your first pick, if it's at 5 again, I don't really care. I'd go the top offensive tackle in the draft. Now what do you have? You have a stud left tackle, hopefully. You hope that's the case. They say those top guys should be, right? You've got your guard situation figured out with Sheriff. That's him moving on, right? And then Holland's a huge upgrade over Cisco, right? So that kind of handles – now, look, other teams are going to want these guys too, so it's not like, it's just pick whoever you want.
Well, and the cap went up for them also.
The cap went up for them as well. So there'll be a lot of bidders for that, but –
it's always funny when people say the cap went up. What does this mean for this team?
Yeah.
It means the same for every team.
For everybody, yeah.
It doesn't change anything because the cap went up across the league.
Yeah.
So what it means is the players are going to get more expensive. That's what it means.
Absolutely. And look, my thinking is this. Look, we and I know Matt Hayes has been saying this on 1010 on primetime. He's been hammering this home. The number one goal is you got to protect Trevor. You gotta protect him. And can you protect him with your current offensive line? Ish. Yeah, you can at times. And there's times you don't. You break down. You get overpowered, you get outmatched, you got whatever, and you give up hits, you give up sacks, especially at the worst times of games, it seems. So, would I want to upgrade that? I personally would. At
more than one position.
With more than one position. Yeah, I agree with that.
Because I think some people might say, yeah, we need to upgrade it. Let's get a replacement for Sheriff if it's Freeze or whoever else. Okay, well, we upgraded it.
Yeah.
No,
not enough.
That ain't good enough.
Not enough. To be honest with you, I'd rather my left tackle be upgraded over my right guard right now. I would.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's strong words.
And just because I want to make sure that blind side is absolutely protected. And I know the dish, set the dish, got to do all that stuff. I understand that. But that doesn't mean we're not going to dress guard. But with that number one thinking, I want that stud tackle. I mean, Trevor's your guy. You showed it. You're paying. Now, he's got – this year will be his 5th year, right? He gets his 5th year option money. And then the next year it takes off into that big new deal. So protect him at all costs.
And we talked about this earlier in the offseason. It was, I think, more like right after the season was over. And we definitely talked about it right when Liam Cohen was hired. And he talked about the offensive line getting off the bus. That's the first thing the defense sees when you break the huddle, all that. Yep. And you want big, bad MFers, basically, that are bad to the bone, right? And we talked about at the end of last year, this offensive line wasn't the problem necessarily.
No.
And that's fine.
No.
But I want an offensive line that's the solution, too.
You want them to really be the tone setters.
Correct. And I think, look.
We haven't been that in a long time.
You look at the Philadelphia Eagles just won the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Jalen Hurts, throughout his career, he's had times where he's looked really good. He's had times where he has not looked so good.
Yep.
I think it's incredibly fair to say that how good that offensive line is has elevated him and made him look far better than he has it, right?
Yep.
It's raised his floor and his ceiling, right? Can I have that for my quarterback, please?
Yeah, right.
I would love to have that.
Well,
I understand they're not the key issue. There's worse things about this football team than the offensive line. Totally get that. But I want that to be the best part of the team.
Yeah.
I want that to be when
and
people
D-line a close second.
Yes, correct. When people talk Jacksonville Jaguars, I want them to talk trenches.
Yeah.
I want them to talk big, nasty.
We've missed that for a while.
For a long time.
Yeah. Feels
Way
like
too
forever.
long. Way too long.
I agree.
The last time, 2017, they had a good offensive line and a great
D-line.
Elite D-line, and they made the AFC Championship.
And look, I still think, I've said it before, even with Armstead and Mason Smith, they have a chance to be an elite D-line with those guys if they play
That's right.
the right way. And I need a 1 technique more than a 3 on this team. I don't need another 3 because Mason can play 3, so can Eric. Mason can play 1, I think, but I'd rather him not. I'd want a big, more stout, shorter and thicker. Maybe a Kenneth Grant if, you drop back far enough and the value's there, I guess. Or just take him because I don't really care. But you led me into my next, it's not even a question, but just thinking. So I read where Sam Darnold is not going to be tagged. They're not franchised. So they're going to try to figure it out. J.J. McCarthy is obviously the future up in Minnesota. And I saw where our friend Maurice Jones-Drew, he quoted a tweet on X. Somebody wrote like, man, I can't believe they let all that production just sit there and not protect it. And MJD wrote, did you see the last 2 games he played in? And he's right. Darnold struggled tremendously the last 2 games that Minnesota was involved in. He was rattled immediately. Had no chance at all. Now, I'm not comparing him to Mahomie, but what happened to Mahomie in the Super Bowl? Similar stuff. He got harassed. He got handled. He got rattled. He was missing. He was off. Now, it's just, look, perception is, remember Del Rio used to say perception is reality, right? Well, Sam Darnold's track record, that everyone, once he crumbled like that, everyone's like, there's Sam Darnold. We've been waiting for the Sam, fair or not, that's the perception. The perception is that Sam Darnold was eventually going to crumble for the Minnesota Vikings, and he'd show the true Sam Darnold, which I don't necessarily agree with. But that's his resume. That's the perception of him. You would never say that about Patrick Mahomes, and you've also seen Mahomes perform well even when harassed. But he didn't in the Super Bowl. He played pretty bad. A lot of them did. Kelsey did. Glad to see Kelsey's coming back, to be honest with you. You see that? Travis Kelsey's going to make a comeback for another year. He should. The way he played, something was going on with him. He was jogging and lackadaisical. I don't know what. Was he sad they booted his girlfriend? I mean, goodness gracious, get over that quick. That's going to happen for whatever reason, whether you agree with it or not.
Tommy, we've said this before. We like to make football more complicated than it is sometimes.
Yeah.
You harass a QB, he probably ain't going to play that well.
Right. Chances are he's not going to perform at a high level.
We talk about all this stuff we got to do and scheming guys open and having all this tempo you need to run and running the ball and all this. Look, man, if your quarterback's got time, even the guys that people consider bad quarterbacks in the league, quarterback's got time, they're probably going to look all right. If they don't have time, they're probably going to struggle.
Right.
So sometimes it just ain't that hard, man.
Right.
Sometimes football is pretty simple when you break it down.
Well, you affect the QB, you protect the QB.
Especially if you affect the QB without having to send extra resources.
Yeah, no doubt.
If you're affecting the QB with 4, I mean, look, the worst Super Bowls Tom Brady ever had were against the New York Giants and Tom Coughlin when they could have those 4 get home.
Well, and the thing is, too, your DB's got to be able to play really tight cover, too. Because if you're in zone and backed off, they just find the hot read and dump it off.
Right.
Because you can't get there quick enough. So that's where coverage and pressure go hand in hand, where, okay, I'm going to get there. But you think about Brady. Like, Brady used to get it off so quick, you barely – Peyton, same thing. They knew where to go, the pre-snap read. They're going there. You blitz, fine, whatever. You bring 4, you're going to harass. My guy's open. I'm hitting him. You know what I mean? So you got to have sticky coverage with it, which Philly did obviously a great job with all of that. So
correct me if I'm wrong, Tommy. For the most part, especially if a team that likes to play a lot of man, when you blitz a lot, what you lose is a lot of your safety help over the top.
Yeah,
if you're playing.
Well, you lose any kind of help because you're man-to-man, one-on-one, and with no help.
Right.
That's why they call it man with no help.
Right.
You better be on your man, and if you can't stick to him, he's probably open. But if you get to the quarterback fast enough. He doesn't have time to see if he gets open.
Because I think people put man versus zone in a vacuum too much. Like it's just like two black and white things. And that's not always like if
Depends what kind of zone we're talking.
Well,
right?
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways to play zone, and there's more than one way to play man as well. People think man is just man to man. I got my guy, but man to man, when it's cover zero, I got no safety help over the top, and if I get beat, he's scoring a touchdown.
Right.
That's a lot different from man with a safety on my side over me. I can mug him. I can knock him off his route. You can play him differently. I can be really aggressive, and I got somebody behind me.
Right.
But I have a D line that's so good, they're going to get pressure regardless, and he just got to make sure he doesn't get beat, and I got to get the short stuff.
And think about this, like outside man, you're playing him outside leverage.
Yeah.
He knows he's got help. That's why he's playing outside.
Right.
If he doesn't have help, he's got to play inside because you got to use the what? The sideline.
Yeah.
As a player almost. Like use that as a barrier. So, man, we got so much work to do on the defensive side as well. But I like my approach. I mean, look, Holland would be a great safety. Reddick just coming off the bench would be fantastic as a pass rusher. He might want to play more, okay, but maybe if you pay him enough, he'll be okay with not playing more. And then Will Freeze, he helps you in the interior of the offensive line. I know a lot of people talking about Booker from Bama. He's a beast of a guard. He says the right things, but, man, I looked at his athleticism scores like in the 50s. That concerns me a little bit. You can be big and powerful, but if you're not quick enough at that guard position, they'll go right around you. They're too athletic inside. You know what I mean? You could be this big mauler of a guy, but if you can get beat with speed inside, it's not good in the pass rush department.
Brandon Sheriff got killed with speed inside all year.
It happens.
How many times did we see him whiff? Because people picked it up on film.
Yep.
He lost. He got beat on that in the preseason, and then it plagued him the rest of the year. How many times did really fast guys lined up on a guard with Sheriff would come like they're coming outside and kill him in it? It happened time and time and time again this year.
No, it did, and you just got to wonder if the punch isn't there anymore.
And that's an even worse way to lose because if he beats you there, he's got a fast track to my QB.
Right up the middle.
Fast track.
Yeah, right up the middle.
If he beats you outside,
he's got at least a little more. You're screwed.
If he beats you outside, he's got at least a little more ground to cover. But if he beats you inside, dude, is that, correct me if I'm wrong, is that not like cardinal rule of offensive line plays, don't get beat inside?
Yeah, absolutely, because it's a quicker way to the QB.
Way quicker.
You think even like a defensive end, if he beats my tackle inside, it's a straight angle to it. I don't have to go around to get to him. I'm going inside to get to him. So, that's big. But I'm not saying he can't play, but I don't know. That kind of concerns me. I looked at the top tackles right now. Membu Campbell, I hope I'm saying it right, kid from Missouri, Kelvin Banks Jr. By the way, Javon Foster. What do we do with Javon Foster, I wonder? He reminds me because he's from Missouri as well. 4th-round pick. You're going to let him compete?
Yeah.
I would imagine.
He'll get another year on the roster,
What if he's gotten
I would
bigger?
say.
I hope he's gotten bigger, man.
I do too.
He just didn't look that big out there.
He'll get another year to develop, get his body to where it needs to be, and see what he can bring. And I would say this time next year, we'll be having a conversation of if he's going to have a roster
He's got to
spot.
at least be the backup tackle if you're drafted in the 4th round.
Correct.
I would imagine.
Correct.
I mean, come on. But now here's the thing about, as we all know, new staffs come in. I didn't draft that guy. He's not my guy. I didn't resign him. Now we may still have to keep him around because he's under whatever the case may be. But that's the thinking. You know what I mean? So maybe their guy once they get to know him and see him and watch him, or maybe that's just not going to fit our style of play.
But I do think if they follow your theory and they go get a tackle, he ain't gonna have a roster spot. I don't believe, because if I draft the tackle, I have to assume if I draft the tackle early, he's playing left, right? He's my starting left tackle, right? And I know Anton's my starting right tackle
for sure.
And this probably means Walker Little is back to being my backup swing
tackle or.
Okay,
I don't think he can play guard, but tackle.
Okay, so I got 2 starting guards that I have significant draft capital invested in.
Yep.
I have a paid, extended backup swing tackle.
Yep.
Where's Javon Foster going to be on the team?
I don't know. They keep 10. So
they keep 10, but I can find somebody cheaper than even as a 4th round. I can probably find somebody cheaper and probably currently better than Javon Foster.
Yeah,
I'll go find a guy that's 30.
Make a dent. Yeah.
That may not be the greatest player, but he's cheap and he's got more experience and he's better.
I'll tell you what, Grammage, I'm keeping Cole Van Lanen as a guard, maybe. I mean, I'd at least give him a shot to be a backup
Well, there you go,
guard.
because Cole Van Lanen we know can also play some tackle
he
if
can play
needed.
tackle. I know he can play guard.
If I got Cole Van Lanen, and I know he can also play tackle if needed, if disaster strikes and 2 tackles get hurt in the same game.
Yeah.
Again, we just talked. Where's Javon Foster going to find a roster spot?
No, you're right.
There's no way.
Yeah.
If they allocate a significant draft pick towards tackle, there's no way he's on the team.
Yeah.
I don't believe.
Well, listen, I said it here. I said it on Hacker After Dark last night. I said, it's not just the starters we need to upgrade. We need to upgrade our backups.
100%.
On both sides of the line of scrimmage.
100%.
I mean, they're not where they need to be. And I was a back. I was a part starter. I was a part backup. I started half the games I played in. And you got to be ready. I mean, you can't miss the beat. You know, you got to fill the void. I don't know, man. I mean, we all know the rotation was crazy last year. That's not going to happen. You keep your best players out there. But when your guys need a break, you got to be a player that makes plays, that's stout and makes plays. And on the O-line, when you're called upon, you gotta fill that void, man.
And I feel like your career is a good microcosm of a lot of the problems that were happening with the Doug show. When you just said, you were part backup, part starter, right?
Yep.
At any point in your career, were you comfortable?
No. Hell no.
You were always worried that
I was
someone was coming for your job, right?
But in that defense of that argument is I didn't have a big contract. I was in a high draft pick, so I didn't have the politics on my side.
Well, correct.
You know what I mean? So it wasn't like, no, he's a first rounder. We're keeping. No, we got too much money. You got to play him. You know, there was none of that kind of stuff for me.
Well, right.
Or with me, I should say.
Cooper Hodges doesn't have that either.
Yeah.
He's stuck around for a while. Miles Cole and Tyler Lacey and Jeremiah Ledbetter.
I think they're all going to be upgraded.
Those guys, but those guys, to what I was just saying, like, you were that guy that had to scrap and claw for a roster spot on any given season.
For the record, we had a good amount of guys like me.
Right.
I mean, Boyer was like that. Cop was like that. You know, guys were. Eddie Mason was like that.
And if you guys weren't getting it done, they were going to replace you. I totally understand, to your point, the first-round picks, the high-priced guys, they're obviously going to have a roster spot, right? Even if they underperform, like totally
at
get
least
the politics.
for a while
Correct.
until it wanes.
Correct.
Yeah.
But totally understand the politics of that. My issue with the Doug and Trent show the last couple of years is there's dudes on the second, third, and fourth tier of the roster that seem to have this protected given roster spot.
Right.
They don't want to shake the snow globe in that regard.
Hence the backflip at 4-13.
I mean,
just saying.
Well, correct. I mean, what the hell, man? I mean,
that's why I said it when it happened. I was like,
makes his first play all season and does a damn backflip.
Yeah.
If that doesn't scream comfortable,
a planned.
Right.
If I get a sack, I'm doing a backflip.
If that doesn't scream comfortable, I don't know what does. And how if my guys that are taking up the back half of my roster spots feel comfortable, how am I going to have a team that plays with edge on Sundays? How is that possible?
In Jeremiah and those guys' defense, the defensive coordinator made them feel like starters.
Yeah.
So they felt they were like just as on the even level playing field of the starters. And sometimes they started. Remember, we'd be like, why? Ledbetter and Lacey are starting the second half.
It's like first drive.
The first series. And we're like, wait a minute, why aren't our big dudes, aren't our guys in there, you know?
But stuff like that was happening, Tommy, I think on both sides of the ball, where you just felt like there wasn't a whole lot of earning it going on.
Yeah.
And then we'd wonder, and then Doug would seem befuddled every single press conference why they weren't executing correctly.
Yeah.
Why they were jumping off sides.
Oh,
why they were false starting.
We'll fix it. We'll clean it up.
Do you remember he said to Bucky Brooks after one game, he's like, I shouldn't have to tell them to snap the ball on time. I shouldn't have to tell them not to false start.
Right.
It's like, well, Doug,
right.
yes, you should. You're the damn coach, bro.
Well, There are some of that's true. I was thinking about the because everyone harps on the why would you call the pass play to the third string running back down the sideline on 1st and 10
against the Eagles.
and I'm sitting there going, well, why did the quarterback make the throw? You don't have to make the throw.
I agree.
And I remember when he made the throw and he's coming off the sideline, Doug looked at him and was like, why? He literally said that to him. He's like, why? What? Why'd you force that? I know it's called. You don't have to. If it ain't there, don't just throw it up.
How many throws or how many plays do you think Andy Reid calls that don't end up being there and Mahomes does something else? Or whoever,
Right.
Joe Burrow or
you look
whatever.
off to the next guy, I don't know. It's like, hopefully they get that all under control. We'll see what kind of turnover they get. But there should be a lot, I would think, at least 25. I think there'll probably be 25 new faces, probably half.
God, I hope
somewhere
so.
on it, if not a little bit more than half. They got to find the right guys. I will say this again. Baselli gives me comfort that they will find the right kind of player that's going to be really good in that locker room and out on the field. Of course, they go together.
They're going
I
to
have comfort in that.
You mean they're going to be intangibly rich?
They're going to be intangibly rich.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
That's
they're
right.
Going to set some dishes. They're going to break some dishes. They're going to do a lot of stuff. But they will be intangible. I feel like I'm intangibly rich, like always have been.
I agree.
Yeah. So maybe not talentedly rich, but intangibly rich.
That's one hell of a phrase, man.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, right. That's a good one. I think when
he
feels like
came
he's
up
from
with that,
Harvard or something. Like,
he
where'd
might
you get that?
He might have come up with that like in the shower or something one day. He's like,
"Hey, honey,
I got it.
What do you think about intangibly rich? Sounds great." Going with that. He seems really smart. There's no doubt about that.
If I came up with that, I would use it all the time.
Yeah. Gladstone seems really smart, and I like what McVay said about him. He really liked him and really thinks he's going to do well. So hopefully that's the case, man. We want nothing more than this team to win a bunch of games and get into that playoff freaking tournament. A little look around the National Football League. I mentioned Vikings won't tag Sam Darnold, looks like. We'll see what happens if they can get him re-signed. Matthew Stafford stays. You saw that over the weekend. I wouldn't have let his ass go either. And Allard Jackson, that left tackle I was talking about, they extended him. How important is that left tackle? Very, very important. So they keep them together. T. Higgins is tagged. Second year in a row for T. He'll make a bunch of money, but maybe not get everything he wants. Does have a great QB, though, and a great offensive system. So we'll see what they can do with that. Darius Slay, Big Play Slay, I think is his nickname, who's just honored up in somewhere. I saw it on the news after the Super Bowl victory. 6-time Pro Bowler, 34 years of age, released by the Philadelphia Eagles. You got to think somebody will, if he can still move and run, and he's healthy, somebody will give him a shot. Deebo Samuel over to the Commanders. Great. I don't know. I guess, but look, he was really powerful at one time, that guy. Used the right way, he can be pretty powerful. I mean, he was a great weapon. I don't know if he still have. Maybe he's got to drop a little blubber or something, get a little faster. You know what I mean? That's his game. He's a powerful guy, but his speed and quickness was what set him apart.
Yeah, and I think he's not very old, but he's been hurt a lot, so I think he's just aging relatively fast.
Yeah. Yeah, he is. But if I'm the Commander, what was it, 5th rounder? That's worth it. I think it was 6th rounder, right? I think that's worth the shot. See if he's got something left in the tank.
For a team with some cap space that feels like they have one of the best young QBs in the league.
Yeah.
That was just in the NFC Championship game. Yeah. I'd absolutely take a 5th round.
We're going to find out, that second year. Remember what they were saying about Stroud. Now, Stroud came back strong, I thought, in the playoffs and whatnot, the playoff game. But he struggled a lot this year, and their offensive line struggled a lot. Again, I mean, you look at Caleb Williams. I mean, they gave up 68 sacks. That guy was harassed all year long. It's a rookie being harassed. Holy cow, that would make your head spin. That would make your head freaking spin because you're just like, oh, my gosh, I'm trying to figure it out. I'm getting killed, like getting hit all over the place.
Happened to Bryce Young.
Yeah, absolutely. Bryce made a little comeback this year. Sometimes it just takes that time. I tell you what, I find quarterback, I've said this before, it's you have to be so I don't know if passive aggressive is a word, but you got to let people hit you at full speed. You got to let them like run you over, and you can't really defend yourself, right? I mean, you got to make the throw. If you don't make the throw and take the hit, it'll never happen. You'll never be a successful quarterback. You know, for guys that are always alpha dogs, you know, they play shortstop, they play point guard, they play quarterback. You know, they play really important positions. They're one of the most popular guys in the school. They date the hottest girl, typically. You know what I mean? They're alpha dogs, but yet they got to stand there and let somebody clean their clock. You know what I mean? It's like, think of that just psychologically. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's, to me, you got to be so strong, physically, mentally, and emotionally to play that position. And when your O-line, that's why we're talking here. Like, protect your assets. It's a quarterback-driven league. You got to protect your. If you're New England, you like Drake May. Are you not grabbing at number 4? You may take that left tackle that you think's the best out of the 3. You may. I don't blame you. You got your QB already. Whether you believe him or not, it doesn't matter. They believe they got their quarterback. So I would protect his ass as much as possible, just like I want here in Jacksonville, because we can't get Trevor rattled again. And he's a tough dude. He is, but I think he was a little off this year, man, and not just the last hit, the last injury. Even during that game, he was off. You know, he was. Remember, he missed the bomb to Brian Thomas Jr. He threw it too late, and it hung up in there, and they picked it off. Remember, that was before he got hit. And he missed a couple others, but he just seemed off. And look, if you don't trust your O-line, think about this. Just think about it from a practical standpoint. I'm standing there. I want to trust my O-line. I'm going to throw on time. But every time I do, I get smacked right in the face or right in the side, or I get drilled somehow. Hits my arm. I don't know how they don't get hurt more when they get hit. When they're trying to throw the ball and bang, they get their arm gets knocked down and get flailing around. It's amazing they don't have more. That kind of hurt myself. More injuries like that. You know what I mean? It's not an easy position. And if you don't do everything you can to protect, unless you got to do it anyway. But if you got a guy like Mahomes who can get out, or Lamar that can get out, like they know what to do. They can get out and make things happen. Okay, you still want the stalwart O-line, but you can get by with Jawan Taylor at right tackle for a year or two. You know what I mean? You can get by with something like that because my guy knows how to get out of Dodge, and my interior guys are strong. So the dish is set. So if they do come outside, I come up, except during the Super Bowl. You saw the dish wasn't set very well for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Because Mahomes is a master at his tackles got beat all year. They were turnstiles. Yeah. Tooney's a good player, but he's a guard, and he had to play tackle. But he was a master at letting defensive ends get upfield. I step up, I find my lanes, and I do stuff. In the Super Bowl, man, there's a guy named Jalen Carter on the other side who's pretty good himself that was just collapsing that. So when he would do that classic step up, he just had guys in his lap right away.
Yep.
But look, we talked about this at the beginning of the show. Football ain't always hard, man.
Yeah.
You protect your guy.
He's gonna black and white, really. I mean,
and also
very
too
simplistic.
I think it also too is worth noting, like, protecting your quarterback from an offensive line perspective isn't just about protecting him and blocking well on pass plays.
Right.
It's run blocking, so he didn't have to throw the ball 40 times a game.
Right, and that they'll bite on run fakes.
And they'll bite on run fakes, and you stay ahead of the chains.
Yep.
So third downs are 3rd and 2, and I'm getting rid of the ball quickly.
That's right.
Instead of 3rd and 11, and I got to be in the pocket for 3 hours and let things get upfield.
Yep.
That's a big part of it, too. That's why I want this line to be pretty well overhauled.
Yeah,
they don't maul people like they should.
No, I agree. And they definitely got to get back to that kind of ass-kicking attitude for every single game. And look, there is something to, you take those 68 sacks for the Bears. It's not all the line. Quarterback's at fault on some of the sacks. But one thing, and I may have said this, and you probably already heard it, but I heard what Baker said about Liam in the pre-snap reads, how he simplified it so much for him that he got really good at pre-snap reads. And I think that that's exactly what Trevor needs. I think he needs to be able to, without a doubt, know where he's going every single time. I don't think he always does. I don't think it's all his fault either. But when I heard that from Baker Mayfield, that he simplified my pre-snap read for and made a world of difference for Baker in his play, that can help Trevor tremendously, right? So you're not going to hold on to the ball too long, right? Because you know who's open already or who's probably going to be open. You know, if you throw it to the right spot, they're open, you make the completion whether you got somebody in your face or not. You know what makes sense? So where the hot read is, right? Guy's blitzing, well, someone's got to cover him. So if my nickel's blitzing and I know he's blitzing or I see him coming and my nickel's on my slot or the nickel's on my slot and the safety's going to replace him, there's a hole before that safety can even get close to getting there. And if you know that and you hit it, it's a first down or it's positive play.
And I'm getting the ball out quick, too.
Really quick.
I'm getting the ball out quick, 4 to 5 yards. Again, that's a play. That's another play in the game where my quarterback can get some momentum, get a completion, and he doesn't have to get touched.
That's right.
He doesn't have to get hit.
That's right.
Nothing.
Yep. That and running the right routes will be doing wonders for this offense because that was really annoying last year.
They captured that well in 2022.
Yep.
They were able to. They had a lot of plays where Trevor could get rid of the ball quickly, get good completions, get a rhythm without having to get killed. The issue is I think defenses caught on to what they were doing on film, and they didn't counterpunch well.
Exactly. See, I thought in 2022, because we talked about it every week, how guys were wide open. A lot of crossing routes, right? A lot of rub routes. A lot of where, you know, you're looking like you're running a pass, but you're just getting in the way of the guy and Ingram's underneath, Kirk's underneath, just wide open, just dumping the ball off to him and making a play. But I agree with you. I think defenses figured that out and didn't allow these things to happen, right? So how do you defeat a rub route? Well, you switch, right? And you work out who's going to go low, who's going to go over it, underneath it. You're not going to go through it. You're going to switch. You're going to communicate, you know, that type of thing. So all of that should be better. You know, all of that kind of stuff should be better, and all of the talent that comes in should want all that to be better. Like it's just second nature. We got nothing to even worry about whatsoever. You never have to worry about Team Tommy Mac. Why? Because they are always there for you every single time, no matter what. If you need them, they are there. Carpet Man Flooring, get the highest quality flooring at the lowest prices. Check them out, carpetman.biz on St. John's Bluff Road and in Orange Park. More than just LVP, all types of flooring at Carpet Man Flooring. Chris Lucero's bail bonds. He is the number one bail name in the game, man. No doubt about that. If you get thrown in the clink or someone you know or love does, he gets you out in a blink. He is the best. 904-822-2245. I've seen it firsthand, and he's a shining light in a time of small darkness. No doubt about that. Morgan & Morgan, the largest personal injury law firm in the world. That's right, forthepeople.com. If you get hurt, you call Morgan & Morgan. Over 1,000 attorneys worldwide. They've got the resources to handle your claim. J-Dog Junk Removal and Hauling. Hey, your junk, a couch, a chair, a desk, whatever, a table, is a military family's treasure. That's right, because J-Dog, they take those items, they refurbish them as best they can, and then they give them to a veteran family in need. 844-GET-JDOG, JDOG.com. And dog spelled the OG way, like the original is what I meant. OG, get it? You don't get it? Yeah, I get it. JDog.com. Hey, Czar Sausage. We had sausage dogs last night. They were absolutely incredible. Mom's out of town. Hey, Dad, what's for dinner? Sausage dogs. What the hell? Why not? Pretty easy. Defrost them, throw them on the grill, throw them in a couple buns, and, man, they sure were tasty. Make sure you check them out in all of your Winn-Dixies and your local grocery stores. Check them out at the Gordon Food Store. They're at Beach and University. They got some great prices for you there. Code Ninjas, codeninjas.com. 4 great locations. Get your kid into summer camp, man. Get them out of your hair and get them a leg up in the world of technology, because that's what they learn at Code Ninjas. They'll go outside and exercise and have lunch and do other stuff, but they are going to learn about coding, about IT, about AI, about all types of security and everything tech at Code Ninjas. Newmark Phoenix Realty Group, the #1 commercial real estate firm in the land. That's right, 904-399-5222 or phoenixrealty.net. Every bit of commercial real estate is handled at Newmark Phoenix Realty Group, from retail to office to industrial to investments and to development. Make sure you check them out when in need. Salt Air Inn and Suites, I tell you what, they're always filled out there. You want to get away for the night, for the weekend, for a week, check out Salt Air Inn and Suites, just 4 blocks from the water, literally the ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, 2 blocks from all the action. I was down there this weekend, and it was a wonderful time. I tell you what, and if I had to stay, I would stay at Salt Air Inn and Suites. Of Family Tradition Specialty Foods, home of Coconut Joe's hot sauces. We got our hot sauces on our table, and you should have them on yours as well. I tell you what, you go to FamilyTraditionsSpecialtyFoods.com. Get the BOGO free when you put Pound Team Tommy Mac in the discount bar. They're winners of the Scovie Awards for some of the top hot sauces in the game. Freedom Finance, hey, if you need some help on the financial aspect of your business, I'm talking startups, I'm talking early stage, I'm talking you trying to grow, well, call my man Courtney Myers. Get with him. You can go to freedomfinance.llc. Go to his website. His phone number is right there. Too long for me to remember off the top of my head, but you can catch it right there at freedomfinance.llc. He is your fractional CFO, handling all your financial needs, from forecasting to bookkeeping to raising funds for you and your company. And Fields Cadillac, of course, right there on Blanding and I-295 and down at St. Augustine near the mall. You're talking performance. You're talking luxury. You're talking Fields Cadillac, baby. All right, man. Love my team. Check them out at Team Tommy Mac at TommyMac.net. Free agent safety market. Let's look at it real quick, Grammage, because I know I said Javon Holland is one of my targets for free agency. Now, it's interesting. I put it on Twitter, and excuse me, somebody asked, were you okay with Javon Holland speaking out against Vic Fangio when Vic Fangio was their defensive coordinator in Miami? So I looked it up because I was like, I don't remember him saying anything, but he basically didn't like that Fangio would not accept any kind of opinion, any kind of say in anything. Well, listen, Vic Fangio is very old school. So he's probably like, I don't need your input. Here's my defense. Just run it. And the new age of player isn't down with that. You've seen it in these reports. They want to say. And listen, to be honest with you, they own half the revenue. So maybe they deserve a say. I mean, some players want first class when the team's flying and the coach is sitting coach, because they're the stars of the team. They're the big money guys too. They want to sit up front. I mean, I don't know how I totally feel about it. I think the head coach has got to sit up front. Like, he's got to be in the front row, I think. I mean, I would want to be. That's my team. I'm leading them into battle, and I'm in the front seat of the plane. I don't know. That's the way I would look at it. But players want to see. I saw it in Chicago with Eberflus, or whatever the heck his name is.
Eberflus.
What did I call him? Eberflus. What did I call him? I screwed it up. Yeah, that's dyslexia or whatever. He's down in Dallas. I saw it in their report. Players want more say. I saw it in the Doug Peterson report. Players want more say. They want to have a say in what's going on. So that's, I guess, the new age. Right? I don't know. Does Andy Reid give him a say? I think he gives Mahomes a say. Kelsey a say. Chris Jones a say. I think eventually you get a say. I'd be open to a say. You know what I mean? I'm not going to be like, I'm not, you're playing. I want to hear what you have to say.
Well, it depends on who you are.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm not just going to give it to you like you're a rookie. I'm like, no, you got to earn your
Tyler Lacey doesn't get a say.
No. No.
You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Yeah. But Foye Oluokun can have
to an extent.
Right.
I mean, I don't know how much of a say I'd give Foye.
And there's obviously a balance. I think, too, like, I was actually listening. It's funny you bring this up because I was listening to an interview the other day with it was a college football podcast. It was with Rich Rodriguez. who's back in West Virginia.
Yeah.
And he was just talking about like the psychology of the new player, like pro.
Well, you remember he had problems as a coach either at Arizona or West Virginia where he was too hard on.
I think it was Arizona, but
was it Arizona?
So, but he was talking about how the new age player, and this, I think this could satisfy for a lot of players what having say is without necessarily like letting them call a defense.
Right.
He was like the thing about the new age player is they don't just want to do whatever you coach them. They want to know why you're coaching them to do this.
Yep.
And he's like, as a coach, I can understand that.
Yeah.
I can understand because
I'm okay with that.
Because if it's not just that it's not that the players are being spoiled brats wanting to know why, it's that if you can explain to me why we're doing this, why this is our philosophy against this team and why this is the game plan, chances are I'm going to have a better understanding of what you want out of me and can execute it better. So if it's less of here's what you do it and shut up, but more so here's why I think this is going to be successful.
It's I'll do what you tell me to do without you telling me to do it. Like I don't want to be told what to do, but I'll do what you need me to do. Right? It's delivery, isn't it? And you can still have that. Like, come on, these Mike Tomlin, Andy Reid, these organizations that do well they got to have some kind of discipline and structure to the accountability.
Yeah,
right?
Of course.
So it's how you deliver that. And it is a new way, and it's okay. No, there is no more my way or the highway, and I don't think there really should be. Listen, I've talked about my mother, who's going to be 94 in April. We talk about this a lot. You know, my dad was born in 1920. Think about that. Kids were not supposed to talk at that, like back then. Seen but not heard. So their communication skills weren't the best at that era. You know what I mean? At least I didn't find it to be. Because it was, you know, you were just told, you did what you were told. You didn't ask your dad why. You didn't. There was no why. It was, you know, and I can remember my dad saying to me, he'd be like, you know, I said, Dad, it's not me. The teacher just don't like me. And he'd be like, I don't know a teacher that don't like a good kid that sits there and does his work, keeps his mouth shut, puts his homework on time, answers questions when called upon. It's not them. It's you. It's you. You're the problem. But that's not 100% true all the time. Sometimes teachers are the problem. Fair. There are teachers out there, God bless, I appreciate you for all the work you do, but there's some of you out there that aren't doing it for the right reasons, that don't do it the right way, and you can cause problems for a child, right? I mean, I think that's fair.
Well, and coaches like players can get on a power trip, or like teachers can get on a power trip.
No doubt about it. Coaches too, right? It's the same kind of thing. But I think, look, I still think, even at the highest level, even with all the fame and money, the guys still want structure. Because they know structure wins. They know it can't be the Wild Wild West. They'll never win. They may look good. They may make some plays here and there. They may, you know, be having a good time, but they're not going to win when it's just the Wild Wild West. They need structure. They need discipline. They need accountability. They want to be held accountable. It's just the way that you deliver it to them, I think, today, which is different. And I like what Grammage just said. It's like, yeah, I'll give you a say. You really don't have a say. But I'm going to listen to what you have to say. All the best leaders are great listeners. Fair enough? I think that's fair. So I'm okay with that, back to the Javon Holland thing, if we did end up him. He spoke, look, Fangio proved his worth. So he may not have liked it, but Vic Fangio is one of the best defense coordinators in the game. He proved it on Super Bowl and this year with the Eagles. Now he had the talent as well. No question about it. But Miami's defense was pretty good for a couple years. If I recall, they were pretty good. They were better than the offense for a time, I think. But nonetheless, so I'd be okay with that. Trevon Morey could be a guy. Justin Reed from Kansas City. He comes up and wallops you, man. That guy's got attitude. I like him a lot. Justin Simmons, a little bit old in the tooth, but still a solid player. Was with Atlanta last year, of course, with Denver prior to that. Jeremy Chin from Washington. You remember him from the playoffs. He was making plays. He was coming up and sticking people.
Used to be on the Panthers.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's some guys that could be available. I wanted Reddick before he went to where did he go to first? Philly. Right? He went Philly, and then they tried to get him to the Jets. He wouldn't play for the Jets or whatever. I wanted us to go after him before Philly grabbed him. He was coming from Arizona, remember? Hassan Reddick. That guy can rush the passer. And he could be a good come-off-the-bench kind of guy. And maybe at this time in his career, that's enough. You know? Maybe it is. Maybe there's packages where you slide Trayvon inside and he stands outside him. Who knows? But you need another pass rusher for sure. And I do think Devin Lloyd's going to fit in there somewhere. I would try him in that capacity, at least on the inside. But, look, safety's going to be one. I think you got to grab – I don't know how the safety market is in the draft. You know how it is in the draft? I don't really know. I haven't heard anything. I hear the D tackles are really deep, right? So if we don't grab that Mason Graham, and I'm still conflicted on Mason Graham. I'm telling you, if he was 320, I'd look at him a lot differently. I just would. And I know you can say, well, he's Braden Fisk. Okay. If you redid the draft knowing what you know, would Braden Fisk be the 5th pick overall or better?
No.
He might be top 15. But again, I can't be hypocritical. But Tom, you said, who cares? Right? You take Braden Fisk's production.
It matters within reason.
Yeah.
It's relative.
Yeah.
Trayvon, if Trayvon had been a 3rd-round pick, he would have far outseeded expectations.
Oh, without question. Fair enough.
But because he's a 1st overall pick, how he's viewed it's the same player, it's the same production.
Yep.
But how he's viewed overall. Tyson Alwell dealt with this for forever. Tyson Alwell was a very good player in the NFL.
Absolutely.
But he was a top 10 pick.
Right.
So top 10 picks, you're expecting to draft Von Miller. You're expecting to draft Aaron Donald. You're expecting to draft Chris Jones. And he wasn't those players. He was just very solid.
Very solid, yeah.
But if he had been picked in the 3rd round,
right.
Oh, home run
guy.
guy.
Or even 2nd.
Right.
Yeah, no doubt. It does matter where you're taken in that regard.
It's relative, though. It's just kind of a relative thing.
Mason Graham, I don't know. If for our defense, I don't think we need another 3. But if he was 6'3", 320, he could play both. He'd be fat enough to play nose. I don't know. Maybe I'm overlooking it too much. But I think we got our 3 techniques, And if he's truly the highest-rated player at number 5, Mason Graham, then I would probably take him. But I would question whether he is or not. I want to see his workout. It's amazing. He only did the 225 24 times. But Kenneth Grant, who's bigger, only did it 22. Now, sometimes those long arms are hard to move all that weight. So you got to keep – did you see the dude that did 49? The Samoan kid? Mm. Did you see the video? They got the video like right at his chest, where you can see the bar come down. The first 40 is like warming up with 135. I mean, he didn't now he's built for it. He had shorter arms, big barrel chest. He's probably going maybe that high because his arms aren't that long. You know what I mean? So it does matter. So I'm not going to look at Kelvin or Kenneth Grant or Mason Graham, like, oh, they're weak. I don't think they're weak. Maybe they just got a long way to go. There's some truth to that.
Yeah.
Although Tony Brackens, if he's watching, he's laughing because he used a close grip like 400 pounds for reps with long arms. He had long-ass arms. He'd be like close gripping. I'll never forget, we're in the weight room one off season. He goes, hey, T-Mac, give me a spot. I was like, and he's always goofing around. I never really lifted with. I was lifting with James Stewart, who could lift a ton too. And Brack is like, yeah, just spot me. I'm like, do you need a lift off? He's like, no, I should be okay. And I'm looking. He's got like 385, 395 on, something like that. And he grabs it like a close grip, and he goes, 10 times like it was a feather. And he racked it, and I just looked at him. I said, that shit ain't fair, man. That's a boy from the ranch, as strong as can be. Are you kidding me? Holy cow, was he strong. He was so great. Love T-Brag. Good friend of mine. So it should be exciting as we get closer to what's happening out there. Aaron Rodgers to the Giants. I'd give him another run, man. I would. 2 years removed from the Achilles. I'd give him a 1-year deal or 2-year deal, whatever. Not here, but if I needed a QB, I would. I'd go after Darnold too, man. I'd take, what do you go, 15-2? Protect him better. Let me ask you this. If they protected him better in the playoffs, would he have performed better?
Yeah.
Right. I don't know how much better. He missed Jefferson a couple times in that one playoff game. Like, he should have had him. He was rattled, though. You could tell.
Yeah, 100%.
He got rattled. But we'll see what happens out there on the front. More to come this Friday. Of course, catching up with Tommy Mack every Tuesday and Friday around 9 a.m. We try to hop on board. And you'll see me on the Horse's Mouth. Hacker's coming on the Horse's Mouth this Thursday. So looking forward to hosting Ryan the Hacker and Coach Campo. And we'll see who else shows up on the show. And then we'll do Jaguars Today on Friday from 10 a.m. to 12 noon with Mike Dempsey, Fat Tony, and Dylan Denmark. For Grammage, for myself, y'all have a great day out there. Thanks for tuning in to Catching Up with Tommy Mack. Be safe, stay cool, be safe. And we'll see you next time right here on Catching Up with Tommy Mack. Peace and love, everybody.